bench press is a compound movement. A leg press, a seated press, chinning yourself, parallel dips, a squat. All of those are compound movements. In most of them, the direction of movement, the line of movement, is more or less in a straight line. When you bench press, you don't move the weight precisely in a straight line. If you did, it would fall over and break your knees. It must move slightly upwards in order to remain on the center of gravity. But basically, the line is pretty straight. However, that straight line resultant of movement is produced by 3 rotational movements. In order to push a barbell in a straight line, you've got to rotate around your shoulder axis, around your elbow axis, and around your wrist axis. So that straight line movement is really a resultant of a triple rotational movement. The strength curves in a single axis movement are relatively simple. While there is an increase in some positions in strength and a decrease in other positions, there are no really gross differences. You do not have a situation where you're 3 times as strong in one position as you are in another, for example. In most cases, the change in strength is something on the order of 40 or 50%, which is very significant and very important. But by comparison to an exercise such as the squat, there's almost a flat strength curve. In an exercise such as the squat, if you squat all the way down, which very few people do, when you start out of the extremely low position, you're relatively strong. But as you move upwards, you rapidly become weaker until you reach the so-called sticking point, where the weight feels very heavy. Now, if you manage to get by that sticking point, then you start getting very strong again. And insofar as your muscles are concerned, as you reach the lockout, as you become fully erect, your muscles are infinitely strong. You could support the universe if your bones could stand the load, because the moment arm of the resistance is 0. Your body rotates, therefore it involves torque. Torque is a resultant of 2 factors: moment, or moment arm, or lever arm. We'll call it lever. Torque is a resultant of lever and perpendicular force. Now, if the lever is 0, then it makes no difference what the force is, because 0 times an infinite force is still 0. If your bones could stand the load, you could stand up underneath the universe and support it. The fact is, you could actually move it a very short distance. If you would break the lock of your knees and lower it just a tiny fraction of an inch, you could then go back up. You're that strong, or your muscles are, but not your bones. A positive cam, the cams we've been using for years in all of our machines, simply cannot vary the resistance rapidly enough or to a great enough degree to accommodate properly the actual requirement